I can quit anytime I want. All right. Hi, welcome back to the Who Killed Your Darling podcast. I'm Robyn Couch.
I'm Adriana Catanzarite.
And I think I have alcohol intolerance. Here's the thing, because I was Googling it. Well, I noticed this in my early 20s. I would get a stuffy nose.
Oh, that's weird.
I forgot to press record on our camera angles. We can put this at the top of the podcast still.
2, 3, 4. Who killed your darlings?
That was really professional.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Well, we had the center one going, so we have footage.
Just not.
Just not our angles. It's fine. Listen, it's my alcohol intolerance.
So alcohol.
I noticed I would get a stuffy nose when I would drink when I was in my early 20s, somewhere around 23, 24. And I was like, this is really annoying. And then when I would tell people about it, they would ask me, this is going to be a rough day. They would ask me if I have any Asian heritage, because, there is the, what they call the Asian glow. A lot of Asian people experience, turning red. And it's a gene thing. I was reading about it. It's something in your genes.
Yeah, I had an ex-boyfriend that had that.
Yeah, and so I would say I don't think so, but maybe. But then as I was Googling it, just said it's predominantly in Asian genetics, but it doesn't always result in the red face, because I don't turn red. Mm-hmm. But what I've noticed is, especially in my late 20s and now I'm 30, I just the next day, even if I don't feel hungover, my body is just off. My heart rate goes higher, and I feel like my blood pressure goes a little lower.
Oh, that's so weird.
And that's a symptom of it when I was Googling it the other day.
Uh-huh.
And what was the other thing? It was your gut goes out of whack. And also, I have also noticed for a long time that after I drink, because alcohol is a depressant, I feel very depressed the next day. It's also an inflammatory. And so your gut goes, and we are all learning that the gut microbiome is the second brain, and 50% of your serotonin is produced in your gut. You didn't know that?
No.
Are you sure? I feel like I've told you this. Well, news to Adriana.
Learning so much today.
Some people are
Listen,
arguing.
you didn't know what whippets were. I didn't know.
I knew what whippets were.
You didn't know what whippets were.
I knew what whippets were. I had done whippets. I did not know they originated from a whipped cream can.
Well, I knew about the gut microbiome. I just didn't know that it was your second brain.
Yeah, some people are even arguing that 90% of your serotonin is produced in your gut.
That's crazy.
Right? So anyway, all this to Google to say that I think I have developed alcohol intolerance, because also I've always been a lightweight. But so I went to a friend's birthday party on Wednesday, and I also had to get up and meet somebody for a hike the next morning. So I was like, I don't want to get drunk. Guess what? I got drunk. But
she got drunk. I wasn't there, but she told me about it the next day.
I was with my friend Jared, because I couldn't go to the first lunch part of the birthday. That was a smaller crowd, because I had acting class, and he went, and it was really close to my place. So I was like, you can park at my place and then just hang, and then we can go to the thing together. So he was driving me home, and I dropped my purse while walking back to the car. Is this a lot of alcohol? I had 2 margaritas and 3 pint glasses of beer. I didn't eat dinner. That's probably what did me in.
I was gonna be like, it's not that bad if you ate. 3 pint glasses of beer is kind of a lot. But I haven't had beer in a while.
I'm also
I can't drink beer anymore.
Right, Adriana can't. Gluten will kill her.
I have celiac. It's not gonna kill me. It's just not gonna be fun for anybody in the vicinity.
Yeah, but and Jared's 6'2", and he drank the same amount or a little bit less than me around there, and he was totally fine. And
Did he eat dinner?
He did. He actually did. But it was one of those things where I was having a hard time too, where I was I know I should eat, but I just I don't want anything right now. Mm-hmm. And I had chips and guac and salsa at the first place, because we went to one bar that had a really good happy hour they had like $5 wings, which I don't eat meat, so that doesn't help me. But everybody was real hype about these $5 wings or whatever the deal was.
It's a pretty good deal. And like it depends on how much they gave you, but
they gave a decent amount. You had to buy a regularly priced cocktail for like $12, but that's still like a good price for a cocktail. But yeah, I had chips and guac and 2 margaritas there. And then at the karaoke bar, I had 3 beers and I was pretty drunk. But I drank a liquid IV before I went out. And then I chugged a water and another liquid IV when I got home. So I didn't
eat dinner.
No, but I did Postmate myself a Crunchwrap Supreme. You can make one vegan. And I think that's what helped me. But yeah, then maybe it was the Crunchwrap Supreme that made my gut go
No, Taco
wonky.
Bell is great. I love Taco. I miss Taco Bell so much. I know they have gluten-free stuff there, but I just feel like if I walk into a Taco Bell, I'm just gonna get like a 5-layer burrito, which is like was my go-to thing. I lived at Taco Bell in college.
You know, now that more places are there goes your bottle cap. Now that more places are more accessible to vegans, they should really make more places, like mainstream places, gluten-free. Because I feel like a lot of fast food places are getting like the meatless. Like a lot of places have Beyond Burgers or Impossible Meat, which is very cool. So why aren't more places looking into getting like gluten-free tortillas?
And also like it's always extra if you need something gluten-free.
It's always extra when you need something vegan, though.
Yeah, but I'm just saying like I have nothing against the vegans. But it's a choice most of the time.
Yeah, but the thing is now I have and I'm not minimizing the gluten-free experience because that is a whole different thing, but I will say I know your body doesn't naturally produce the enzyme that digests dairy, so I have made myself aggressively lactose intolerant now.
And I've been there for a few, but like it's a choice, and whereas like gluten intolerance and more specifically celiac is an autoimmune disorder. And so I didn't choose the gluten-free life. The gluten-free life was thrust upon me and I hate it.
Yeah. Unfortunately, it's one of those things where like I hear what you're saying where you shouldn't have to pay more because you have this thing. But it's also like everything else in this world where like, yeah, you got the short end of the stick here. Like it's not your fault, but it is your responsibility. That's kind of the phrase I've been living by lately.
In Italy, they subsidize you if you have gluten, like if you have celiac or gluten intolerance.
What do you mean?
You get like a subsidy. Like the government gives you money like every month to help pay for your groceries because it's more expensive.
Wait, hold on. I learned something crazy recently.
I'm still reeling from the gut microbiome.
But so I was listening. One of my favorite podcasts is Armchair Expert, and they have like several different shows in that feed that release every week. And one is by the journalist David Ferrier, who's from New Zealand, and it's called Flightless Bird, and the theme song is like, Flightless Bird, touchdown in America. And he's like talking about American things. They just did one on pie. That was really interesting. But he did one about like citizenship. And did you know that you still, like your money is, if you renounce your American citizenship to go live somewhere else, you still have to pay some degree of American taxes.
That's
like your money is still monitored by the American government. And I was like, and what I found interesting is like he was asking somebody who was explaining this.
Is that just for America or is that true of any country?
No other countries do this.
Interesting.
To my knowledge. But he was asking the specialist that was talking to him about this, about exactly that. And she said, I don't know if it's necessarily right or wrong for America to do it, but I do not understand why other countries aren't doing it. And I was like, I do not understand any of it. If I'm living in fucking London and paying London taxes, however that works, because the American education system sucks and I don't know. I know London's a very expensive place to live, but why does America still get some of my money just because I exited a vagina here? Actually, I didn't even. I was a C-section baby. And they did save my life. I was born very premature.
Grandma was a little preemie.
Little preemie. It's always funny to me when like people mention their preemies or I mention I'm like, me too. And they're like, oh my God, like I was like, 3 weeks early. How early were you? And I'm just like, I was like 8 to 10 weeks early. I don't even remember.
I saw pictures of Robyn.
I was
like, baby
gross
pictures.
looking.
She what? I'm not gonna say that you were so tiny.
I hadn't grown into my skin. I was a little shriveled. They taped a bow to my head.
So that people would know that you were a girl?
Yeah, I mean, the
Or a
gender
baby.
binary was a big deal back then.
Or that you were a baby.
Well, the bow, I think it was just like, this will be cute. I don't know.
Was it cute? I can't remember.
I was not cute.
I'm not gonna, like, it's not your fault that you weren't cute.
One of the crazy thing too.
It's not your fault you weren't cute.
I became a cute toddler, so it's
yeah,
fine.
there you go. I wasn't a very,
Newborn babies are, most fresh out babies are odd looking.
I think it's like C-section babies more often than not are cuter than vagina babies.
Yeah, no, it is true because I didn't know this either. And my sister told me this because she recently had a baby and she had a vaginal birth. And I guess coming out, like, because their skulls are so malleable, they get like these they get these like alien cone heads. Like, Google it. Like, it's insane.
No, I've seen, yeah.
Like, she didn't send anybody photos of her daughter, my niece, until her skull became normal skull shaped.
It takes like a couple weeks for it
Well, like it actually, like, I think it happens pretty quickly.
Yeah.
But one day at random, she was texting a group chatting then with her and another friend, and she said, "Did I ever show you my daughter, like, right when she came out?" And we were like, "No." And I was like, ah! It was like a jump scare. Like, it looks like a fucking alien prosthetic in a movie. It just like is this long head, and it's so normal. So that makes perfect sense that C-section babies, maybe not necessarily cuter, but just they don't have a weird fucking skull.
I mean, my nephew is just objectively like the cutest baby in the entire world.
My niece is cuter, so
I will fight you.
My niece is finally big enough to wear the sweater I got her, and it's very cute. I got her a little sweater when I was in Vermont visiting my mom, and there was this really cute little gift shop that's like all locally made things.
Oh, that's cute.
And so I got her this little light blue like knit sweater thing with like 2 buttons, and it like hangs down, and then it's a little matching like beanie.
Oh, that's so cute.
Very cute. I'm also, this means nothing to anybody, but when I was a toddler, I had these pink overalls with purple polka dots that I was obsessed with and my family was obsessed with, and they're still in my memory box. And I was like, hold up, thought, what if next time I'm in Vermont, I pull those out and I mail them to Sydney so that when Charlotte is big enough, she can wear them.
Yes.
And then they can carry on, because I am pretty confident I'm not going to have kids. I feel like I open myself up to opinions I don't want when I definitively say no, which is unfortunate. I should be allowed to just definitively say I'm not. But pretty confident it's not going to happen.
Yeah.
But I want those overalls to go to somebody.
Yeah. No, I think that's a great idea. Like,
yeah.
And it's going to your little niece.
And she's going to be so cute in them.
Yeah.
They are perfect, like, toddler overalls. Like, they're just that cute little, like, thing. And they were, like, made in the 90s, so they're actually still good quality, you know?
Like, and they're vintage.
Ugh.
I hate the fact that people are calling 90s, like, fashion things vintage.
Is there a specific timeline for the definition? Because I know antique, it has to be over 100 years old. Does vintage have?
I don't know.
That's something we can look up. Also, thank you to all the people that were like, it's called a sidekick, Robyn.
I honestly didn't know that it was called a sidekick until I saw that you posted the reel and I read the caption. It's a sidekick. And I was like, oh my God.
It was just that thing where I was so annoyed because I was like, I know what this is called. It's not coming to me. And I'm just glad I now remember.
Yeah.
I would also like to discuss something very important. If you are somebody that backs into a parking space, jail. You deserve to go to jail. It's the most annoying thing ever.
Where is this coming from?
Well, I was getting a coffee this morning and somebody was backing into a parking space, and it just reminded me about how much I hate when people back into parking spaces because if you're waiting, it takes 10 times longer for you to get past them and into your own parking space. And it's just like, and I could be projecting my own insecurities that I do not trust myself to back into a parking space.
I don't either.
But what are you showing off? What do you think you're doing? Do you need a fast getaway? Who do you think you are? You're at like a coffee shop in West Hollywood. You don't need a fast getaway.
When is the appropriate time to back into a parking space?
If you have to unload a lot of stuff and you're next to a garage.
Okay.
That's it. If you have a lot of shit in your trunk and you're backing up to a garage or like, a front door or something. Okay. But most of us also here live in apartments. Mm-hmm. We're not parking necessarily that close to our houses. Yeah. Don't do it. It bothers me. You're annoying. And it's always men in some sort of loud car. That
Was it like a big old like honkin'?
It was like a
SUV kind of thing.
No, it was like a
pickup truck.
What is it called? Like a Dodge Charger?
I don't know cars.
Maybe I'm combining two and everybody's screaming at me. I don't give a shit about your car, but when it makes a noise, I wish you were dead. So I don't like loud. It's stupid. It's stupid. It bothers me. Loud motorcycles. My stepmom calls motorcycles murdercycles.
God, I was driving on the freeway to get here and I was like singing a song because that's where I sing in my car because I live in an apartment and I share walls. So, and I was just grooving along on the freeway and then all of a sudden it's like, and this motorcycle just like cuts in front of me and also like zooms ahead. And I think they were going like 100 miles an hour. So literally I was singing and then all of a sudden I was like, ah!
Yeah. Jail.
That's the exact noise I made in the car.
It doesn't make sense to me. Like anytime a loud engine goes through my neighborhood, I'm annoyed.
I live near a fire station, so
me too.
I kind of have to get used to it.
It's weird. I live near one too. I don't hear it that often.
Very nice though because they always wait until they pull out of our like the neighborhood street before they turn the siren on, which I appreciate.
Damn, I feel bad for whoever's having an emergency then.
No, because like usually it's a pretty sleepy like street, so like they can get out, and then once they're on like the main thoroughfare, they just blast it.
That's nice. I wonder if there's like city code
there might be
requires them to do that. Yeah, there's a fire station like across the way from me. I don't hear it. I don't hear it that often actually. But I don't know. Whenever people say firefighters are nice, I just think about the firefighters I've spoken to on dating apps.
I've never spoken to a firefighter on a dating app.
Oh, the God complex, the shirtless photos.
Yeah, but how hot are the shirtless photos?
Like pretty hot, but like
at the same
not
time,
hot enough for me to deal with how annoying you are.
Yeah,
like
kind of like my body is attracted to your body, but when you speak, my brain gets angry.
Yeah. And like it's just you can let me perpetuate the dating a firefighter fantasy in my head, but you're the worst. It's just
the worst.
I think you're pretty good. I know I just combined two.
I do that all the time.
But these like, I don't know. It's just like, it's just a...
So like you don't know what danger is until you run into a...
Not even really that. It's more like how fake them talking about how good it feels to save somebody is. And that feels really judgmental. And people will be like, Robyn, how do you know that? And I'm just like, I have a pretty good intuition. But just the way, I don't even know how to describe it, because if I reiterate any exact quotes, it's going to sound like I'm just full of shit. But do you get what I mean? Like just the way they talk about, like, it feels maybe not entirely fake, because you have to work hard and you have to care.
But a bit like performative?
Performative and a little inflated of just like, you could just tell me the exact reason why. Honestly, I would respect a dude if he said, I thought it would make me look cool. If somebody flat out said that to me, I'd probably be like,
or be like,
thank you.
I didn't, I just did it because I fell into it and now I kind of like it.
Yeah. Or like, family thing or whatever.
I wanted a dog.
I don't think dogs still do things with firefighters.
No, I don't know. I don't know how that works. I've never really talked to a firefighter.
I just feel like dogs don't hang out there.
Well, thanks for crushing.
I think dogs do more with police, like drug sniffing and stuff like that. And like attack dogs.
We used to get drug sniffing dogs at my high school.
We used to do random drug tests at my high school. Mm-hmm. Well, your parents would, I think, sign you up for it. My mom didn't care because she would let us smoke weed in the backyard. Here's the thing. If anybody wants to jump on that, like, Mom, if you're watching this, like, you did the right thing, because I don't have that, like, binge drinking, binge drug use personality, because she would let, when I was, like, 16 to 18, like, before I was 21, basically, if I was home for the evening, if I was not driving anywhere, or going anywhere really, like, she didn't want me to go out, like, she would I could have a glass of wine with dinner or, like, a beer with dinner. And then when my sister got her med card, when that bullshit was a thing before it was legal, she would let us smoke in the backyard. And it's just like, it wasn't a mystery to me. And I know so many people that ended
probably going to do it anyway.
No, I did.
Yeah. It's just like, it's better. Well, what's a safer place to do it at? Like,
that was exactly her mindset. I would rather you two smoke weed in the backyard and then eat some snacks and safely go to bed in your own beds, like 3 feet away, than do it out with friends and get in the car with somebody who's under the influence of something. Like, and yeah, and I just know a lot of people. And like, I definitely partied in college and like had fun, but I also had that head on my shoulders that already had some sort of understanding of how it affected me a little bit. You know, my mom wasn't letting me get hammered. Like I said, I could have like a beer or two, or like my stepdad, we had an orange tree in the backyard. My stepdad loved to make screwdrivers.
Oh my God. My parents have an orange tree in the backyard and they've never made me a screwdriver.
He always made like fresh squeezed orange juice, and he would make me, obviously he would make one with like half a shot of vodka. But like, it just, I don't know. I just went into college like with a better understanding of it. And there are kids who like, I know a lot of people who had to go to the hospital from being so drunk in college.
I never had that. My parents were not the same as you.
I mean,
exact
I know,
opposite.
I know that's not like, there is a lot else that goes into how you respond to drugs and alcohol. But I do think removing the lock and key concept of it, like removing the mystery of it and the like freedom, I can finally drink thing, like makes you less likely to. I'm not saying it's like for sure gonna do that, because some people are just predisposed to go hard.
Yeah, so like
am I drunk right now?
I have like a family history of alcoholism.
Me too.
So my my parents were always like, nope, not at all. I didn't really go to any parties in high school anyway, so I wasn't really at risk of drinking because I just didn't hang out with those people.
Yeah.
But when I got to college, I was like, yes, I'm an adult now, and I never went to the hospital, but it was 6 months of like, or like a year of really intense partying. And it was a lot of fun.
It is fun.
It ended when I got so drunk one night that I was still drunk at 10 in the morning. Ooh. And when we were driving...
I've never had that. I've never still been super drunk the next morning.
Yeah, and then when we were driving home from the party, because we crashed at the house, me and this other guy who were still drunk, we had to pull over at the Target parking lot, and we both threw up in the Target parking lot. And my roommate's boyfriend had to hold my hair back, and I was like, this is a low moment for me.
It's the... When you like, I think honestly, I tell this story a lot, is when I really kind of chilled on partying. I went to my friend Julie, shout out my friend Julie, BFF.
I'm not your best friend.
You can have more than one best friend, you bitch.
That's the title of the episode.
So I went to Cal State Long Beach, go Dirtbags, and
that's the mascot?
No, but they the baseball team was like really popular, and they wore white pants and they would get dirty. They were called the Dirtbags.
I lived in Long Beach my whole life, and I saw the Dirtbags thing, but I don't know.
That's where it originated.
I thought that was like an inside joke, and it kind of is, but I didn't go to Cal State Long Beach. So
so I went to Cal State Long Beach. My friend Julie went to Chapman, which is down in Orange County. They're like maybe 30-ish minutes apart or so. And we went to high school together, and so we'd stay in touch. We'd go to each other's parties because we were close enough. And she threw a party at the house she was living in, and it was the first time I met Jungle Juice. And I don't think I knew, like I'd heard about Jungle Juice, but it wasn't explained to me that how much alcohol is in it and like how sweet it is and how much you can't tell.
Yeah.
That part like wasn't explicitly explained to me. It was just like, there's this thing called Jungle Juice and it'll get you drunk.
And it's like, sure, that sounds fun.
Yeah. And like, I think I was, don't underage drink, kids. I think I was like 19. And
I was also 19 in the Target parking lot.
Yeah, and I went to this party and I had like a full cup of Jungle Juice. I don't even know how much alcohol is in it. And then I did shots with her roommates. I also didn't know very many people at this party. I'd met her roommates before, but we weren't like close. Mm-hmm. So I knew Julie, I knew her boyfriend at the time, and then a dude we went to high school with came, shout out Andreas, because he and I have only talked about this once since, because this is such an unfortunate story.
So ready for this?
So have I not told you the story? I probably have.
I think you have, but keep going and I'll see if I remember.
And he was with a friend of his, and once they got there, I kind of just like hung out with them most of the night because I knew them best. Mm. Also, Julie's boyfriend at the time, very sweet guy, because I told him I was anxious about not knowing very many people, and he would actually like make the rounds to come make sure I was like good.
That's sweet.
Which was very, very sweet of him. Yeah, and he's a very sweet guy. They're not together anymore. We're still like, that was a sweet man. Mm-hmm. But I was with, Andres, and so hammered, and like, this is probably the most drunk I've ever been in my life, because it was the thing of like, I never want to feel that way again.
Yeah.
Because of how drunk I was.
Yeah.
And so Andres and I went to high school together. He was like one of those cool guys who he did football, but he also did like choir and theater. So he would kind of like, he was very popular because he moved through a lot of circles.
Yeah.
Also very talented singer. And my friend Shane in high school told me a story one time at rehearsal where Andres pointed out that I have a nice ass, which I do. Thank you.
She has a really nice butt.
Thank you. And I guess when I was drunk at this party, that was the only thing I could think to bring up to him at one point. And
I remember the story.
Yeah, and I was in like a little like cute little flowery dress. And I remember I like looked at him at one point and I was like, Andres, do you remember telling Shane that you like my butt? Is it still nice? And I turned around and I showed him my ass.
Were you wearing anything under the dress?
I was for sure wearing underwear of some kind. I can't remember if it was underwear or a thong. But
and what did he say?
I don't honestly know clear memory of how exactly he responded to that. But that sweet man decided to hand me a cup of water in a red Solo cup. And he was like, you should drink this. And I went, thanks. And I grabbed it and just like crushed the cup and water went everywhere. And I even remember at one point I was like, well, he and like the other friends started like talking and I was standing there. I tried to lean against the counter and it was
Did
just
you
like,
fall over?
No, just my like legs were like having trouble like giving out from underneath me. It was just like so drunk. And then I was gonna go. This was also like pre Uber. I don't know when Uber and Lyft became like a real thing. Maybe it had just started, but it wasn't easy to access a ride home at that time.
Yeah.
So I was like, at one point I was like, okay, like now I'm not like party drunk anymore. I'm just tired drunk. So I was like, I think I'm just gonna go sleep in my car. And I do not put your keys in the ignition, even if you're sleeping, because you can still get a DUI if the keys are in the ignition.
Why would you, if you're sleeping in your car?
If the keys are in the ignition, I don't know. I think it's just like where they draw the line.
No, I'm just saying like if you're sleeping in your car, why would you put the keys in your ignition?
I don't know, to turn on the heat or something.
Oh, okay.
But it wasn't like
okay, that makes sense. I get it.
Yeah, but it wasn't. Also, it was like summer in Southern California. It wasn't super hot. It wasn't super cold.
Did you sleep in your car?
No, I was walking out there and somebody thought I was going to go drive, which very good. Like they were also very drunk, but they thought I was going to go drive. And I was like, no, I'm just going to sleep in my car. And then he was like, no, come back. It's fine. And then he found Julie and she like tucked me in her bed.
Oh.
And then Julie and I had to like.
Why didn't you just ask Julie if you could sleep over?
I didn't know where she was and I was drunk.
So it just like made more sense to like, instead of looking for Julie, like immediately going to, I'm going to sleep in my car.
Well, but also like I have a problem asking for things I need.
That's true.
So that was my like, even in my drunken state, my hyper independence is still strong. But even though I promise I would never get behind the wheel in that state, I respect the other people at that party for like thinking that I might and still like grabbing me, even though I was like, no, I'm just going to sleep.
It's probably not super safe to sleep in your car.
I mean, it was a safe neighborhood, but
yeah, but I don't know.
Yeah, and so Julie tucked me in her bed. We had like a whole like, I love you more. No, I love you more. And then I woke up at like 7 a.m. Nobody was there. I was so confused. And then I just like was like not feeling good, drove home like so sick, and then had to go do a shift where I worked at the time. And it was just such a miserable day and a miserable experience. And I was like, I don't want to do that again. And because it was like, once again, I do not know how much alcohol was in that jungle juice, but I had 2 full cups of it and I did 2 to 3 shots with her roommates.
And you probably didn't really eat anything.
I couldn't tell you.
Yeah.
I don't remember.
Based on how...
I probably ate something before I left, but I don't think there was food. And even to this day, when I talked to Julie about this party, she goes, everybody was... people were throwing up like on her front lawn. Like everybody was so sick. People were so drunk. And I honestly, ever since then, I have a really good hold on like how drunk I get. Like even at this party I went to on Wednesday, like I was drunk and I should not / would not have driven, but I was like manageable drunk. Like I still felt like it was the type of drunk where I was like
showing your ass to people.
No, I wasn't showing my butt to people. And Julie. Pre-COVID, she hasn't done it since COVID. She used to throw like kind of an annual like Halloween party or holiday party at her place. And Andres would go to those parties and he and I would like talk and smoke in the backyard. And at the last one, I mentioned, I was like, dude, I gotta say, every time we go to these parties, I wonder if you remember that. And he's like, of course I do. And I was
think
like,
I was there for that.
yeah, and he was like, basically he kind of implied like, I'm not gonna bring it up. But he was like, but I remember it, just so you know.
Yeah. I wish I could say that after the Target parking lot, like I never drank that much again, but that's not true.
I mean, I'm not
drank
saying I
a
didn't
couple more
party.
times, and I remember there was one time in particular where I got the spin so bad at night that I was like, okay, I can't sleep on my bed because it feels like a boat, so I'm going to sleep on the floor. And I spent the whole night on the floor.
Did that help?
It kind of did, but not really.
I feel like once you got the spins, you're just spinning no matter what.
And that's
you're
another
laying
reason
on.
why I don't really drink much now, because I have vertigo. So I got diagnosed with vertigo like I think 4 or 5 years ago.
Oh yeah, they probably tell you to limit drinking.
They didn't tell me it, but I did it anyway, because when you're having like a vertigo like episode or something, like it feels like the spins.
Yeah.
When you're like super drunk or hungover, but you've done nothing to deserve it.
Yeah.
And it's like nothing really helps either.
Yeah.
And I feel like when you're hungover, like you can do things to help when you have the spins, kind of. I don't know. It's been a while since
I've never had the spins when hungover.
Mm-hmm. I've gotten like both, when I was super drunk and then when I was hungover.
Ooh. Yeah, I've only ever gotten them honestly once I like laid down in bed after a night of drinking and I'm falling asleep. That's the only time I've really
So it's just like there's nothing really. I'm like trying to find new ways to like work on when I have a vertigo episode to like help mitigate it, but it's really miserable and you're just trapped in your body and it's horrible, and I don't really want to go through that when it's like something that I can control. So it's like if I have to limit drinking to make sure I don't have a vertigo episode, then that's what I'm going to do.
That's also kind of how I feel, and I felt this way about drinking for a while, like since graduating college, really. Like when you drink enough, you're just giving yourself the flu the next day.
Yeah.
And I really don't like it. And I'm glad I have been able to, like, even at this party, like I was drunk, but
we get it, Robyn. You got invited to a party.
But I had, like, you know, I know how to hydrate myself and make sure that I can feel okay the next day. Mm-hmm. But it is just kind of that thing of you are kind of ruining your next day.
Or next couple days, depending
especially
on how
because,
much you drink.
Especially because you really can't bounce back as well as you once did. Like, I really remember when I started to notice just my downfall of drinking after like age 25 or something.
Yeah,
I was
you
like,
really
ooh.
like, you know, just be like, okay, well, the next day's gonna suck, but the day after that is gonna be better. And then sometimes it's when you get older, like sometimes it's just not.
I've never been hungover for more than a day though.
I don't know if it's like hungover, but it's definitely kind of like I just didn't feel great.
Groggy?
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe. I will say though, the last time I got like very drunk was fresh out of, you know, COVID quarantine. Things were starting to happen again. I was freelancing for a company and they had their Christmas party and it was an open bar and it was the first party I'd been to in a while. And I like kind of
the party that I'm thinking about.
Yeah. And it was that thing of like where I, you know, also when you're at a party and you're socially anxious and you have a drink, it's really easy to just be like sucking it down because you want something to do.
Yeah, it gives you something to do with your hands and then you kind of lose track of what you're doing.
And I also just never like, maybe I do have a problem. I didn't find the food at this thing. Like I just like.
How could you not find the food at this thing?
I couldn't tell you, but I didn't find.
If I was there, I would have gotten you food.
Here's the thing, it was just that realization of like, oh, like you really are much more sensitive to alcohol now because I think I had 4 tequila sodas and once again, no dinner. That's my problem. I need to coat the stomach with some carbs.
Stop drinking on an empty stomach.
But
that's literally the first thing they tell you to do.
But you know, I had fun at this party. Like, people knew I was tipsy, but like I said, I think I can hold my own. Yeah. And I also think my body's reaction to alcohol now would indicate that I was drunker than I actually was, just because I'm so sensitive. But I took my Uber home, and I was sat on my bed, and I was taking off my boots. I had these cute, like, lace-up boots on, and I had to pull it off with such force that I, like, fell forward and was on the floor, and I was laughing at myself. I thought it was funny. And then the next day, I threw up twice. Which was also incredibly disappointing because everyone who's been hungover enough to throw up knows that once you throw up, you feel better.
Sometimes.
But my body needed to throw up twice, and I threw up once, and then I still felt sick, and I was like, this is horrible. And then once I threw up the second time, I was like, okay, we're good.
Yeah, I've had that. Like, sometimes you have to throw up multiple times to feel better.
Yeah. I also...
That's the second title.
I booked to bring my car in to get it serviced that next morning. So I had to drive my car to the dealership to get it worked on, take an Uber home. And I remember sitting in this Uber being like, do not barf. Because I get motion sick sober. So I was like, do not barf, do not barf. And then, and I was just like shakily eating like a plain piece of bread on the way there, just trying to like do something. That was a moment where like, I was like, oh God, like, I will admit though, that was just a sprung out of quarantine, like first party social anxiety thing. And at the other work parties for that company that I've been at since, I've held my shit together much better, and I find the food. I also, I do eat something beforehand. Yeah, I guess that is my pattern.
You didn't do it before Nicole's party.
It was literally because I was looking at my pantry and I was like, I'm just not like
next time you
hungry.
Next time I know you're gonna go to a party, I'm just gonna keep texting you and be like, "Are you eating? Did you eat? Have you eaten yet?"
I don't know. I'm usually like fairly good about at least eating like some pasta or something carby before I go. But
you got a carbo load before that.
Carb load. But now I'm pretty good at like
because like all of my worst nights with alcohol have been like on an empty stomach, and then also because I'm like I'm gonna go hard and have like 11 shots of vodka. I can't do that anymore.
Have you ever had 11 shots?
I had. That was the night of the Target parking lot.
That feels alcohol poisoning status.
Yeah.
I
had spaced them out, but they were like,
I do.
And then I was like, I'm going to finish everybody else's shots too, because I'm cool. So I
also feel like my stomach, like I said, I really feel like I have just like I've developed a sensitive stomach and like alcohol intolerance. Cause I also like, if I don't have much food in my stomach, but I only have like maybe 2-3 beers over the course of a long evening and I go to bed, I will wake up with like a slightly sour stomach the next morning.
Is it like, have you noticed if it's like any alcohols in particular or?
Well, I used to think, because when I told my mom when I just was noticing the stuffy nose thing, my mom was like, no, she cannot live a life without alcohol. So she did research and she got me, like she said, tequila supposedly doesn't do that because for some people it's like a histamine response. So some people can take antihistamines before drinking and it can help.
Doesn't that mix weird with the alcohol?
I mean, not like Benadryl or Claritin, but like a one that's not like drowsy or something. I've never actually done, I've just read when I've been researching some articles say some people will try to take an antihistamine, but I also encourage like not like researching it because Benadryl will fuck you up if you drink and take Benadryl. But she did research and she said tequila supposedly doesn't do that. And tequila is probably the only hard liquor that I actually really like because like other ones just like remind me of like the rubbing alcohol you drink in college. And I'm also a beer and wine girl, but I will notice wine also does it to me a little bit more.
I can't really drink wine either.
I can't really do white wine. I like red wine, but I will notice it.
White wine gives me a migraine.
Beer and wine will do it a little bit, but then if I have like a vodka drink or something, I notice it more aggressively. But
I straight up can't.
I don't need alcohol like to survive, but it is one of those annoying things where like I'm the definition of a social drinker. So it is that thing of like I'm not like if I never had to drink again, like fine, whatever, I wouldn't be bothered by it. But it's that thing of like, but I really don't drink enough, and I do enjoy like having like a drink with friends. I enjoy like, and this is gonna make me sound like an alcoholic. I do enjoy like the like after a drink, just like relaxing a little bit into a social event. Like I don't feel like I need that, but like it's just like it warms me into it.
Yeah, like I'm a social drinker too. Like I won't really drink unless I'm like at a party or like out at a bar. To me,
it just kind of makes me sad to like have a glass of wine by myself at home.
Yeah, like I'm no judgment to anybody. It's just
if that makes you happy, that's totally fine. I don't judge anybody. It bums me out
when I'm like trying to have a cozy night at home. Like the first thing. Like popping open like a bottle of wine and pouring myself like a glass is not my like first instinct.
Totally.
No shame to anybody else or like having a beer or whatever. It's totally fine.
Yeah.
I tried doing that because I was like, it's so like ubiquitous.
It's so adult. Yeah.
Yeah.
It feels like something you should be doing once you can.
I tried to do that one time in college where I was like, but I neglected to think of that I also had like a paper to write.
Oh.
So I was like drinking beer and writing a paper and I'm like, this was a mistake.
Yeah, I am. I also had that thing of like, oh, now that I can drink, I should be like buying a bottle of wine or having some beer in the fridge. And very often, if I wasn't with friends when drinking it, it would just go to waste.
Yeah.
Or that's also the other thing. Like I live alone too, so like I would have to drink a lot of wine to make opening a bottle worth it.
Right.
Because they go bad so quickly. And like, I guess you can buy those like smaller bottles, you know, but like they don't make the ones in the wine that I like.
This is going to make me sound like super lame. They have like this simpler wine coolers like you can get from Trader Joe's. They're just like little cans.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm not like, I can't really, wine bothers me. It just like, even if I can't drink white wine at all because it gives me a huge migraine. And even red wine kind of like, I just don't like the taste of it. But I like the wine coolers a lot.
That's
but
fine.
even then, like Eric and I live with Eric, like we're just not big drinkers.
Yeah.
Like we'll do it if you really beg us to.
I mean, I love if I'm out to dinner with friends or whatever, I love to order a drink.
Yeah.
You know, if we are order a drink, like I said, if I'm with people that don't want to drink, I'll be totally fine without one. But yeah, I don't know. It's just I don't feel the need to. But it would be a bummer if not because of like a mental health thing, but because of a physical thing, I had to stop drinking, and then it's like. But I want to have like a beer with friends every now and again.
Yeah, it's just nice.
Yeah. I have also, and it's like minimal research, but I have read some stuff too about how having recovered from COVID can affect how your body processes alcohol. Some people are saying that it may be connected to the ways people with chronic fatigue syndrome and stuff are affected by alcohol, because I did notice...
Did you have long COVID?
Honestly, sometimes I think maybe. But I don't know if that's just my brain's way of liking to make me miserable.
Or is that hypochondriac, Robyn?
I mean, here's the thing, and I know there's so many factors involved because hypochondriac Robyn learned something great from her old physician. If I told my old doctor that I had a lot of health anxiety, and she said one thing I tell people who have health anxiety, because people with health anxiety are also very in tune to every single feeling inside their body. And she said one thing to ask yourself when you start to spiral and start to think something seriously wrong, go, am I getting enough sleep? Am I drinking enough water? Am I eating a balanced diet? Am I moving my body? And if you say no to even just one of those questions, that's probably the reason why. And so it's that thing of like, you know, when I think about when I have wondered if maybe I have some mild form of long COVID, it's also like, well, maybe I haven't been like drinking quite enough water. Maybe I haven't been like eating a balanced enough diet.
Yeah.
That type of thing. Maybe I haven't been getting enough sleep. Yeah. So it could also, it could be those things.
Yeah, because I love you. I love you so much. But Robyn is a huge hypochondriac.
Yeah.
Like I thought that I was a hypochondriac, and I
came in.
And then I met Robyn, and as I learned more about her, I was like, I don't think I knew the true meaning of what a hypochondriac like actually is.
You're like, maybe I'm just a little paranoid.
Maybe I'm just a little anxious. But
yeah, my favorite hypochondriac story I like to tell people is
the one where there's one that I was involved in where I was with my grandma a couple years ago. My grandma is a retired nurse, and you texted me asking if your mole was cancerous.
Oh yeah, well that was also like, I think that was right around COVID times, like starting. And I think I wasn't like focusing my fear on COVID. I was deciding that I would have another problem that would require a doctor that I wouldn't be able to get to. So I started to panic that, all my moles were melanoma.
And then she like made me show my mom and my grandma.
I showed my mom too.
To check that the mole, because she showed me and I was like, that looks like a normal mole to me.
Guess what? Now I've learned that was an OCD spiral, and I was seeking reassurance.
Yes, and I was going to tie that back. I was like, I did the wrong thing.
You didn't do the wrong thing.
No, but like, now that we know.
Because I didn't know reassurance was a thing until literally a week ago. For anyone who doesn't know, people with OCD, a thing that feels very counterintuitive, it's a bad thing, but it feels like a good thing, is when somebody with OCD is reaching out and asking, getting like with the mole thing, or like the
she texted me and asked if she,
like I get a lot of like food contamination OCD, like I'm gonna eat something gone bad, and if I like ask somebody about it, like it's actually feeding the OCD thoughts to ask somebody for that reassurance, because you're really not truly gonna feel calm and believe it, and then it's just you're gonna need to keep asking and keep asking and keep asking.
Like how she asked 5 different people to check on her very normal mole.
I did, but no, the story I was gonna tell that makes people laugh, that I to this day find very comical, because I was losing my mind. So it was my senior year of college. And I think what triggered the thought was because you know how sometimes you'll get those like flu bugs that you're not like sick to your stomach or anything. It's just like achy fever flu, but it only lasts like about 24 hours.
I've never had those. Whenever I get sick, I fall hard.
Okay.
My sister has. I know it's a thing.
You know they're a thing. Yeah. And so I got like within the same, I think, second semester, like last semester of college for me, which was also a tough time emotionally. There was a lot going on. So I think my immune system was definitely taking a hit at the time. But I got like 2 of those within the same like 3-month period, which was weird to me because I am somebody that doesn't necessarily get sick all that often. And my boyfriend was there. I remember he went in to take a shower and I was just like laying on the bed. It was like the end of the day of that 24-hour period. I remembered having gotten sick recently, and then I just had this like full meltdown. Started crying quietly on this bed while my boyfriend at the time was in the shower going, I'm HIV positive. Because I think I read somewhere flippantly at one time. That's the other thing too. Medical facts and symptoms like stick in my brain. Like I have a photographic memory for just that shit because my brain wants to use it against me later. But I think I read somewhere flippantly that a sign of HIV can be like flu-like symptoms. And I just decided, and
it could have been lupus.
Oddly, I'm not that scared of lupus. My stepmom does have lupus too, and I've seen her navigate it, so maybe that's why. But I had a full meltdown. Didn't tell the boyfriend about it because he probably would have just been like, "Are you fucking kidding me?" Which would have been a fair response. Like, but here's the part that I've never told anyone.
Oh God.
I couldn't stop spiraling about this, but I was also too embarrassed to like go to a clinic to get like an HIV test that I spent like over $100 on an at-home HIV test.
What is an at-home?
It's kind of like
a COVID test?
A little bit.
Interesting.
Yeah, and I think that's great. If people are like in a high-risk zone for contracting HIV, like look into that stuff to test yourself regularly. I think it's fantastic.
I would hope that it's not $100 still.
I don't know. This was, this happened. This was in like 2016. So it's either more expensive or more affordable. But can I tell you the more embarrassing part? I didn't believe the results on the first one. So I bought 2.
You bought 2? Did you think that you took the first one, like that you did it wrong?
But honestly looking back on this is so OCD.
This is.
And it cost me $200. How much money has my like?
Oh, Robyn.
I sometimes I'm just like, God, how much money have I spent like feeding these things? But
honey.
And then also, I never truly believed it too until I got like a physical with a new doctor. And when you first go in, they do
a whole blood work.
Yeah, it's been like I'm not. I don't like using the phrase like in like a high risk zone for contracting HIV because that's like homophobic bullshit. But you know, like she was like, because you're heterosexual, basically, we only test you once unless you ask. And she did like a full panel for like everything, like, you know, chlamydia, gonorrhea, all of them, and like, and it was fine. And that I finally believed her.
Oh, Robyn.
I didn't know that was OCD at the time either.
No, yeah.
That's the thing that's blowing my mind because like I've been diagnosed with OCD for a while, but even then, like when I was diagnosed, I wasn't walked through like all the things. And especially because these things also weren't necessarily like coming up in therapy or like.
Well, also like OCD, I think just in general in mainstream like society is very, very misunderstood. It's like Monk, like Adrian Monk, like everything has to be perfect.
Yeah.
I love that TV show, by the way.
Yeah.
But like he has to germaphobe. He has to like touch all the light bulbs and do, and sometimes it is that.
That is, those are real OCD manifestations.
And sometimes it can present itself in a completely different way, like ADHD. I have ADHD. I'm textbook.
Yeah.
You know, look at a definition of somebody with ADHD and you think of all the classic things. I have that. But I know other people who especially women,
Usually
present
women,
it in a completely different way.
That's why a lot of women are getting diagnosed later in life. And one thing I learned that I thought was interesting is a lot of people who were maybe diagnosed with bipolar disorder at 18 are now diagnosed with OCD.
Yeah.
Or, ADHD, sorry.
Yeah. Because you can still like with ADHD, I've had like manic symptoms like that before, and you have like upswings and like it's hard to regulate emotions when you have ADHD.
Yeah. Yeah. But OCD, I think it's like pure OCD is like the very internal one too. And I think that's also hard for, because like I said, there's also a lot of aspects of OCD where like I said, so many of my thought patterns I didn't know. And honestly, like I think the way information spreads on platforms like TikTok can be very harmful, but can also be very helpful. I think we are in kind of an epidemic of self-diagnosing. And I don't think self-diagnosis is a problem, but I think we need to be a little more cautious about it, especially because one thing I was listening to another podcast recently with a psychologist who deals with teens. She said she's noticing a lot of teenagers feel, some depression symptoms, some anxiety symptoms, and Google it and tell her, I have depression. And it's just like, okay, let's dial it back. And I think a lot of that stems from this idea that you're not allowed to get help if you don't have like a DSM diagnosable thing, which is a problem. But I do think the way we can share information and make people feel seen is great. And a lot of the information I've seen like on TikTok about OCD has made me go, what? Like that? No, shut up. I thought I was just a psychopath. Like, and there's even...
Do you have an example that you'd be willing to share?
Yeah, one of my like intrusive thoughts, and that's another thing that has been kind of like watered down on social media, the idea of intrusive thoughts. Like, there's intrusive and impulsive thoughts are different than intrusive thoughts. Impulsive thoughts are like, what if I just reached over and like pulled Adriana's necklace off her thing or whatever?
What if I just punched Robyn in the face?
What if I just like stuck my entire hand into like the cake batter or something? Yeah. Intrusive thoughts are a little bit more like I'll be walking down the street and I'll see somebody walking toward me and I'll picture them getting curb stomped and their teeth like falling out of their head. That's the example. Or like if there's like, a vase and it has any pointy things, I'll picture like my eye going into it. Like,
or is it like when you're like, I think like when you're like looking down at a tall building and be like, what if I just fell over?
Yeah, I think that's another one.
Yeah.
And like
it's common. Like
these degrees of all these things. Also, everybody has them. Like
there's a difference between the frequency and how much they impact your everyday life.
Yeah, and that's literally also the definition of like normal human spectrum of emotion versus like mental illness, right?
Versus everybody can feel depressed once in a while.
Yeah,
everybody has anxiety,
and you're allowed to get help for it, even if it's not a chronic illness. It's the same thing as like
there's just a difference between having depression and having generalized anxiety disorder.
Yeah. And the example that I think is so helpful too is the example of, an averagely healthy person, right? Like you still get sick, you'll still not feel well sometimes, but you're able to recover on your own, usually without medical attention. That is a mentally healthy person. Like physically healthy people still get sick. They can just recover at home by like resting, drinking lots of fluids, taking care of yourself, whatever. It's the same with mental health. A mentally healthy person can go through a pocket of depression and then get out of it on their own because their, baseline is mentally healthy to do so. But somebody with a chronic illness of some sort, an autoimmune disease, like let's use lupus, for example, right? Like people with lupus can get really sick and need much more help than somebody who doesn't. Same with mental health. Like it's just, I don't know, everybody's valid, but you don't need to say to the world, I have depression just because you feel depressed.
Yeah.
Like there's also that idea of like separating the thing of like, not identifying with it, which is another problem. But what was another thing? Oh yeah, there was like another OCD thing I learned that was like, it was the line between problem solving and rumination is very blurry. And I was like, I thought I was just being like an efficient problem solver thinking about this and trying to fix it so much. So it's just that type of stuff where I've been like just very aware of my brain a lot lately, which is helpful because it's also easy to kind of distance myself and be like, oh, okay, that's a thing. And then look back on my life at times when I spent $200 on HIV tests that I didn't need.
That makes me kind of sad.
Or one time I was convinced I had a brain tumor, and I had this like weird feeling in my body. Also another like warning sign that it's mental health. It was another weird transitional, like depressed time in my life, stressful time in my life. I had this weird feeling where like my head felt tight and this eyebrow like felt like it was always raised, which was like freaking me out. And also like my fingers and toes were like tingly a lot, and I felt weird. And and for weeks I was like wanting it to go away, and I was just like, and then I started to panic that I had a brain tumor.
Did you go on WebMD?
See, I don't use WebMD, but I still scare myself.
I have a funny WebMD story, but like, keep going.
And I remember I was talking to a friend on the phone about it, and I started crying about it, and he went, "You've been talking to me about this for a couple weeks now. I think you're okay, but I don't think you're going to believe it until you hear it from a doctor. So I think you need to just like make an appointment at an urgent care, because you're not going to believe this till a professional tells you. Like it's at that point now. We're stuck here until a doctor tells you otherwise."
You're going in a circle.
Yeah. So, and thankfully this was still, this was before I was booted off my parents' good insurance. So I was able to easily go to an urgent care.
I miss those days.
Right. And this doctor was so sweet to me. I went in saying I had a headache, which felt like kind of true, but kind of not. And
Did you just like word vomit out all of the...
No, I didn't really like go through all of it. I did say like, I explained how it felt, because I also didn't want to like lead with, I'm having a lot of anxiety about I did say I'm anxious about this, but I find also often you can get very easily dismissed if you say I have health anxiety or even anxiety if you go somewhere. So I didn't lead with that, but I just described my symptoms, and she was like, okay, so she did like a neurological exam or like wash my eyes and stuff. I don't know what she's looking for, but I think something can trigger her to be like, maybe we should get like a scan or something. She did that whole thing, and she went, I don't think you have a brain tumor. And I was like, okay. And then she was like, but one thing that maybe could make it feel this way. And then she touched my traps, and she went, okay, yeah, maybe get a massage.
Were they like super tight?
Yeah. And that was honestly like the problem. I just had such a severe tension headache that it was making the muscles on my skull like make it feel like one eye, and then like tingly because like it was just constricting everything because it was so tight.
That's crazy.
But it was like, and then she did give me a shot of pain medication that was basically like a liquid version of ibuprofen. It goes in your butt. She asked me if I don't have a phobia of needles, shockingly, but that probably had a placebo effect or something, because I felt fine after that.
Well, maybe she just shot you with like...
She could have shot me with saline. She probably did. And then charged me for the real thing.
Oh, God.
But it was just like, I don't know. The brain is stupid. But I also know people who have really bad health anxiety that keep going to the doctor, and maybe they're also stuck in like an OCD thing where they're like a reassurance
whereas
thing.
You can feel like where your line ends is where a medical professional tells you
most of the time.
And I think in their case, like they don't believe the medical. It's like when you text in all your friends.
I think it's circumstantial, right? Because I could also see myself, and I have been in the past, like kind of dismissed by doctors, like. And that is a big problem, especially like for women who get dismissed by doctors a lot, women who have like a mysterious autoimmune thing and whatever. And so like it's a big problem. So, but I do think in that situation with the brain tumor thing, I think the sane part of my consciousness knew the truth, but it like all of the anxious like blockage was preventing that part of me from coming through. So I think in that circumstance, I needed a doctor to help like part that sea so sane me could calm down. But
I have a funny
What's your WebMD story?
So I was 18 in college, and I was having all of these health problems. I was feeling really dizzy. This was before I got diagnosed with vertigo. I
was about to say my goddamn vertigo.
My goddamn vertigo. I was feeling really dizzy. I was just feeling really weird, tired all the time, and like my head felt weird. I don't know how else to describe it. It was like a balloon kind of. Yeah. And I went to the health center at my university.
Oh my God.
It was a terrible idea.
I was about to say, speaking of like, this is going against what you're about to say, but I feel like outside of being under 26 and on my parents' health insurance, I also feel like I never had better healthcare than when I was in college because you got so much free shit.
Oh, my health center, I never went to that health center again. Because so when I went, I think she was just like a nurse practitioner, which is like, they didn't even get me to see a real doctor. No, I'm just kidding. She was just really dismissive and she just looked at, you know, the little paper that I filled out. And she's like, oh, you're taking ADHD medication? Well, one of the side effects is dizziness. And I was like, well, no, I've been taking this for like 2 or 3 years. And I even called my psychiatrist to just double check with him that this symptom like wouldn't start happening after like years of taking it. And he said, no, it was probably something else. And she was like, no, it's definitely this. And she was just like super dismissive. And just like really mean. And then she was also giving me shit for taking birth control at the time and not being sexually active. And I was like, what the fuck is wrong with you?
It's way worse for your body to go on and off and on and off and on and off hormonal birth control than to only be on it when you're sexually active. It's also you also don't always plan for when you're going to fuck.
Also, I wasn't taking birth control because I didn't want to get pregnant. I was taking birth control to help control my hormones like during my period.
But also you don't plan every time you're gonna fuck.
And then I was like, it'd just be a happy coincidence. Like whenever I decide to start having sex, boom, I'm covered.
I've been on birth control since I was a teenager. I have not been consistently sexually active all of those years, but I've stayed on it because you don't know, and I'd rather be on it.
Yeah. She was so rude.
People are trash.
So then I called my dad after and I was really upset. And I was like, so he started asking me like all of my symptoms. And I was telling him, what I didn't know at the time was that he was typing all of my symptoms into WebMD.
Oh, no.
And then
what did he come up with?
All of a sudden he was like, well, it could be a brain tumor. And I was like, what? And I was really upset. And then I called my mom after, because I think my dad was at work at the time. And I told my mom, and then she was like, okay, that's it. You're coming home this weekend. We're going to take you to see your doctor. Yeah. And we're going to figure out what's going wrong. Yeah. And I was there for like 5 minutes and he was like, you got an ear infection.
Dude, that's the crazy thing about ear infections, actually. Because I probably had some as a kid, but I haven't had one as an adult. But when I hear about the symptoms of them, when people start to panic and then they go to the doctor and it's just an ear infection, like that is so mean. Because they're so scary.
Yeah. Well, he didn't mean like, oh, it's just an ear infection. He's like, oh no, I know exactly what the problem is. You've got an ear infection. Like,
no, but I mean just an ear infection in the sense that like you don't have a huge problem. It's a very like treatable issue that usually goes away with like one round of, whatever. Yeah.
And I was so mad about the health center that I never went back there again.
See, I don't know. When I say like the best healthcare I ever had was in college is because I think just like the access. I didn't go to the doctor. I didn't have like aggressively bad experiences. I didn't have really warm experiences either. But I never went with that big of a problem.
Yeah.
Like
I didn't think this was that big of a problem, but she like spent the entire time like trying to talk me into stop like not taking my ADHD meds anymore. And I was like, listen, bitch, like I need these to function. Yeah. Like regardless of whether or not I was in school.
It would have also been different if she was like, why don't you go off them for like 2 weeks and see how you feel? But like.
She was just like, I don't know what to tell you. You have to stop taking your meds and then you won't have this problem anymore.
Nah. That's like I went to the health center once because I was exposed to chlamydia.
Oh my God, Robyn's chlamydia story.
And
I don't know if you want to tell the whole story, but it is.
I can tell the whole story.
It's great.
I was hooking up with this guy in college and we were safe. I'm very responsible. But he came over to my place one night after classes and he was like, hey, so I donated blood to the Red Cross. And they called me and told me I have chlamydia, which I find to be one of the most comical ways to find out you have chlamydia, if I'm being totally honest. He felt very bad about it, though. Like, I don't want to, like, shit on him for this situation because it's, like, it's not like we were both, like, let's get tested before we start hooking up or anything, which is also a very responsible thing that you should do that I have not been very good about in my life.
It's hard to just...
Like I said, you never know when you're going to fuck.
When you're in the moment, to just be like, hold on, let's stop everything. Have you been tested?
Yeah, and so, like... Really, and plus, if you are using protection, like obviously it's not 100%, but like I feel very responsible in that regard. And so, and he felt bad about it. I wasn't worried. I also knew I could easily get tested and treatment on campus. Once again, just
I feel like in being accessible. In terms of like getting treated for an STD or something.
Oh yeah, they've got you covered.
Yeah.
But what's also really ironic about it though is I had gotten just a like peace of mind STI screening like a month before I started hooking up with this guy, just because once again, I'm very responsible. And that's also probably fueled by anxiety as well. But I think that's never a bad idea if you're sexually active. And the same guy who checked me in for that appointment was checking me in for this one at the health center. And my last name is Couch. So I feel like I'm fairly memorable. And he obviously didn't acknowledge that he recognized me, but I recognized him. And I was just like, oh no.
Oh no.
Especially because they always ask you why you're getting screened for STIs. And, you know, because they want to know, is it just peace of mind? Were you exposed? Are you having symptoms?
Yeah, are you looking for anything particular?
Because then they, you know, change how they handle it. And I said, I've been exposed. And he said, okay. So then I went to a room to talk to a doctor. It was more like an office room. And this woman would not believe me when I said I was like safe. Like, and it's just like,
I kind of hate that.
It was just, I
I'm
understand.
sure they get people that lie to them all the time.
There are also people that are so stupid that don't know that hormonal birth control only prevents pregnancy.
Yeah.
So I do understand. Like, and I used to think that was like an exaggeration, that people thought that. But a girl I went to high school with, I was at a party with her and she was studying to become some type of doctor. And she said, no, the amount of people that do not understand that hormonal birth control only protects from pregnancy is astounding. So I do understand that. But it's like at a certain point when I keep saying, no, I use condoms, I'm safe, you either have to accept that I'm telling the truth or I'm not going to stop lying to you and just move on. And so we finally moved on to the conversation. They brought me into a room like for like an exam, but it was basically just a woman telling me to like pee in a cup, you know? And
that fun stuff.
What they told me is that because they were like, so because you've been exposed, we are gonna take away your sample and test it today and you'll get those results sometime next week, but we're gonna prescribe you the antibiotic today for you to take. And then if your test results come up negative, no harm, no foul. If they come up positive, we just bring you in for a follow-up to make sure that cleared it out, which I do also kind of understand for college kids, but also like in retrospect, like potentially unnecessary antibiotics are not good for your body.
No.
My mom was very big on always being like, you're not going to be on antibiotics unless like you really need to.
They really fuck up your body. That's why like
and you can build up like a super like intolerance or something.
Always good to take a probiotic when you're taking an antibiotic.
Yeah. Yeah. And so I was just like, you know, little like, you know.
I didn't know that until I was like 26.
Yeah. Little like, you know, 19, 20-year-old me was just like, oh, okay. And so I give them my sample, they take it away. I go to get the prescription. And what's funny is I handed the woman at the pharmacy window the thing and she looks at Feisty and she goes, so is this for the chlamydia medication?
At least she didn't go, is this for the chlamydia medication?
But I was just like, yeah, I don't care, ma'am. Like, just give it to me. And then I go to the consultation window and, you know, the guy says, okay, so, yeah, just go home and take them both at once. And I was like, oh, why did I need a consult for that? I don't know. Sometimes when they force you to get a consultation at the pharmacy, I'm just like, why'd I have to wait for you to tell me?
This could have been an email.
Yeah, but so I walk home. I remember that this day very clearly because I made the appointment in the morning on a Wednesday because I wouldn't work on Wednesdays and I only had one class in the evening.
Okay.
So I walked home. I was nervous because I can't swallow pills. I was nervous about getting these 2 horse pills down.
I forgot that you couldn't swallow. So I always forget that you can't swallow pills.
Yeah, it's a problem.
To this day.
Yeah. It's a mess. It's a mess.
You're still a good person.
Thank you. But I think I had to just like crush these up in like yogurt or something.
Oh my God.
And so I managed to get them down. I went to meet up with a friend for lunch. And then on my way home, I was like, oh my God, I have to shit so bad. Like I was like getting goosebumps, you know?
Oh God.
And my drive was like 20 minutes and I had like 10 minutes left of this drive. And it was like that type of thing where it's like coming in waves. So you're just like, oh no.
And then you're like, oh, okay.
Yeah,
oh no.
Yeah. And then like I had that thought of like, how bad would it be if I just let myself shit in the car right here? Like, you know what? It was just so bad. And I lived in a duplex. So I parked on the street. I remember I was getting to the door and I had my key in the thing. And you know how sometimes you can let like a little fart out to relieve pressure?
Yes.
I thought that's what I was doing. And then it was just happening. And I got the key in the door, and thankfully none of my roommates were home, and I just booked it to the bathroom, threw my underwear away because it was useless, and it matched a bra I had, and I'm still really heartbroken about that. I wasn't messy enough to need a shower, but I like psychologically needed a shower. I needed to like just rinse because rinse repeat. Because I'd also didn't really have any real gut issues. Like that was abnormal. Like as I've gotten older, my gut's gotten messy, but like that was like, and sometimes I wonder if that like just like fucked up my gut forever, because I feel like after that my gut got a little weird.
Maybe it did.
But I just like, I was so shocked because that was so bizarre for me. And I remember just like putting on comfy clothes and just sitting on my bed being like, what the fuck happened? And then seeing in my little trash can next to my desk the pill bottle and going, oh, that is like the one abnormal thing I consumed today. And I Googled it, and that antibiotic is used for like a whole bunch of stuff. But there were like forums of people who had to be on it for extended periods of time who were saying it was just really fucking up their gut. And I was like, okay, that answers my question there, but that's really annoying. And then I remember talking to the guy. The guy was saying I wasn't gonna like share with him this because we weren't that comfortable. But I remember being like, oh yeah, I got it. And I was like, I just said they made me feel really sick. And he was like, well, did you take one at a time? And I was like, no. And he was like, you're supposed to take one day and one the next day. And
what
I was
the
like,
fuck is wrong with that?
Excuse me.
I think you should have called that pharmacist
and said you made me shit my pants on my front porch.
Made him buy you new pants.
I was in a dress, which for better or for worse, no one can say. It stayed contained in the underwear.
That's good.
But
you just said the underwear was useless, so I just assumed.
No, useless as in like unsalvageable.
I see.
I mean, and then the next week I get a call from the student health center, and I never even had chlamydia. So.
Oh God.
So, but I mean, if you're gonna get an STI, that's the one you want.
Sure, yeah.
Because it's very treatable.
Yeah.
But it also doesn't show symptoms, so get tested regularly. But
what I've done since with taking antibiotics, and this was because I had surgery like 2-3 years ago, and I had to take antibiotics after, and I talked to my pharmacist, very different from Robyn's pharmacist. She was like, listen to me very carefully.
Well, people know more now, too.
Yeah.
Like, this was in, like, 2015,
yeah.
2014.
She was like, this is super important. Commit this to memory. Remember, you're going to take this antibiotic pill, and then 1 hour after that, I want you to take a probiotic.
Oh, wow. She got specific.
Yeah. She was like, 1 hour after that, you just take a big glass. So I was like, oh, can I use, like, kefir, which is, like, a really, like, yogurty kind of drink, but it's really good.
I don't think I know what this is.
I don't think, it's not vegan, but it is, like, it's, like, basically like a natural probiotic.
Right.
And she was like, you're going to do that the entire time. I want you to do it every day. You got to time it out specifically. And
Wow.
I did, and I never had any issues with my gut after that. And then I had to take antibiotics after, like a couple years after that for like a UTI. And I did the same thing, and I just never had a problem since.
See, I mean, like I said, I haven't been on antibiotics very much in my life because, like I said, my mom was very cautious. Like, I don't want to make it sound like she wasn't willing to get me medicine. She was just like,
Have you been vaccinated?
Of course. But she was like, we're just going to try treating it naturally before. Because I was...
they fuck you up.
Well, I was also a child that was very prone to sinus infections. Basically, every time I get any type of sickness that leads to congestion, like I have a sinus infection. So it was just that type of thing of we're just going to try to like flush it out of your system naturally. And even my doctors too, very often when she would bring me in, they would just tell me to like get those like nasal things that you squeeze up one nostril and it comes out the other to flush it out, which is very satisfying. And like Mucinex, because Mucinex actually breaks it up. It doesn't just dry it up. So that's what we would do. And then once I started doing really just like especially the like rinsing, I haven't needed them, but with how often I was getting them, my mom was like, I'm not just going to keep putting you on antibiotics. And then I have had to go on like brief stints for like, you know, a UTI here and there and things like that. But this one for the chlamydia I didn't have is the only one that has truly, I'm sure now, because like I said, my stomach is much more sensitive, I would probably have a more aggressive reaction. Also, just I think as you get older, your body is less resilient. Like I think little kids are also less likely to have like a bad reaction to being on them. But that's the only time but I also can't remember the last time I was on antibiotics, if I'm being honest with you right now. Probably, college and like the last UTI I had. Yeah. But even then, there are natural ways to treat UTIs too, right? Like is cranberry juice, is that real? I
don't know if it's real or not. But the doctor, when I had my UTI, they said, you can just take a cranberry pill, like, every morning. So maybe it does. There's, like, in the research that I've done, I've had conflicting things where I'm like, yeah, cranberry is, like, a placebo. Oh, no, cranberry works. So I'm not really sure.
I always think that stuff is worth a try because it can't hurt you.
Yeah, so I just started taking cranberry pills in the morning.
There are so many bizarre ways to treat yeast infections naturally. And one of them, somebody I know, I don't want to out her. That's why I'm like not even giving an indication of how I know this person.
Give me a name. Give me a name.
I'll tell you after. You guys are SOL. She was having a really hard time getting rid of a yeast infection. She didn't want to like get prescribed anything, or do they even give antibiotics for yeast infections?
Never had a yeast infection. Knock
I
on
can't remember.
wood.
But there's a lot of like natural ways you can try to treat it. And one way, very interestingly, is putting a clove of garlic in your vagina. And the freakiest part about that is it absorbs into your body and you'll burp garlic later.
That's horrifying.
Right? Like if you burp garlic and know it's because it was in your fucking pussy. Like when I was told that, because I'm all for trying the natural remedies, and then if they don't work, going for the thing.
I think I would be way too scared to shove a clove of garlic up my vagina.
I mean, I think it's not that different from like the monostat thing you stick up there.
But it just freaks.
It's freaky.
Yeah.
No,
like more power to you if you can do it. I wouldn't be able to.
I think I would have been open to possibly experimenting with that, but when this person told me you burp garlic later, I was like, absolutely not. Nope. No. I've heard tea tree oil on a tampon can help, though, if anybody's wondering. Once again, I haven't tried it. I've just like heard.
I just feel like that might like sting.
Maybe.
Yeah.
I don't know. Listen, we're not doctors. But like I said, I think the natural things are helpful. Like I said, like even like with my sinus infections, like rinsing out, like doing the saline rinses is why I haven't needed antibiotics for that. I think I just have tiny fucked up sinuses, honestly.
Yeah. Or like whenever I get, this
nose.
is such a different thing. Like whenever I get mosquito bites, because I'm allergic to mosquitoes every time I get, but I'm also like delicious to mosquitoes.
Yeah.
Like,
what's your blood type again?
I don't know my blood type.
Oh.
But whatever it is, they love it.
Because there's certain blood types that they're attracted to O blood types a lot. And I'm O negative.
Yeah, I have no idea. But
if anybody needs blood, give me a call. I'm the universal donor.
We'll put her phone number in the show notes.
Yeah. I'll just send you a bag of blood. Or a bucket of blood, like in It's Always Sunny. The blood bucket.
Blood bucket?
Yeah.
Oh, I don't even remember. Oh, when I get mosquito bites and they always get infected, but what helps is if I find them early enough and I don't keep scratching them, I get like a really warm like compress, and then I put like salt on it, and then I put it on the bug bite, and it kind of like draws out the poison.
Yeah, you've told me to put like salt water on mine. There's also, you can mix baking powder or baking soda with water to make a paste, and that can help draw the poison out. Just stick that on. It also feels nice because it's like cool. You can also just ice them.
Yeah,
too.
I do that. So it's like a combo. I'll do the salt, then I'll ice it if it's still itching, and then I'll do like Neosporin on a Band-Aid because I have to cover them up anyway because they're going to get infected.
Well,
this was a roller coaster of medical.
I hope I don't become famous for shitting my pants from chlamydia I didn't have.
I think this story is like infamous.
Honestly, it's a
circle.
phenomenal. I tell this story all the time, so why should I be ashamed
You
of
told
telling
the story at your birthday party.
It's my.
And it was amazing.
Here's the thing. Also, I will say for anyone out there, if you go to a party, and like to tell the embarrassing bodily function stories, that's how you figure out who the cool people at the party are, because the people that recoil in disgust or terror are not the people I want to be talking to. I want the people that'll go, oh, that's crazy, well, hear this, and then tell me some crazy hilarious story because it's also funny.
Yeah. And then it was also your birthday party from a few years ago where you told that story again to different people, but then Molly was there, and Molly started telling stories about the time that she almost shit her pants. Yeah. And then we just started talking about it.
And it was one of the first times she was hanging out with her now boyfriend.
Oh my God, yes. Yeah. It was I think it was the first time he was hearing these stories, and it was amazing.
Yeah. So I just think it's funny, it's vulnerable, and also, because I also told this shitting my pants story to all of my friends at the time after it happened to me, and those friends call me when they shit their pants and tell me, and I'm fucking honored, because you know what, it's that thing of they told me, they immediately thought about me, and they immediately told me the story.
I almost shit my pants at Disneyland.
When?
This was like, I think I didn't tell you because I was embarrassed. And also I was still like, so I got glutened. I got accidentally glutened.
Had I told you my shit my pants story yet?
Yeah, you had. This was like earlier. So on Christmas Eve this Christmas Eve, I accidentally got glutened by salad dressing. And then the next day I got glutened again. And then the next day I got glutened again.
That'll do it.
Yeah. And so like, it was like a period of time where I accidentally like poisoned myself like for like a week straight. And it was awful. And I don't think I ate any gluten that day. I was going to like downtown Disney with my friends.
Your body just like stocked up.
I think my body was just freaking out and it was trying to like just get everything out, all the toxins out of my system. And it was just like, okay, today's the day.
Aren't there a lot of bathrooms around Disneyland though?
There are, but we were at downtown Disney.
Oh, I also haven't been in years.
I don't know. I also got lost on the way to try to find downtown Disney. It was really embarrassing because there are arrows that point you directly to where downtown Disney is. And normally I have a really good sense of direction, but I got very turned around. Anyway, we were like going to get some food. It was like we had just started to hang out because I was lost. And then I felt it in my gut and I was like, oh, fuck. I'm going to like...
Bubble guts.
I'm either going to like throw up.
Ooh.
Or I'm going to shit my pants, or I'm going to do both, or I'm going to pass out and then everything's just going to come out of me. I don't know. It was awful.
Ooh, see, most of the time, no, I want to say pretty much all the time, if I can tell it's going to be a pants situation.
With gluten, like it kind of goes either way.
Yeah.
I mean, TMI, but it's happened where it kind of, if you eat enough of it, it just comes out of both ends.
I mean, you're basically poisoning yourself. So
yeah, so it's just like your body's just trying to like eject it as quickly as possible.
It makes
happens,
sense that your body would respond like you got food poisoning of some kind.
Exactly,
Yeah.
except it happens like a lot quicker than food. It's like 20 minutes after you finish eating and then it's just like boom, it hits you.
Food poisoning can be that fast too.
I've never had it that fast before.
I've never had food poisoning, knock on wood.
I used to have food poisoning all the time, and now I'm just thinking that it was like celiac.
Probably.
Anyway, so I had to like leave. I had like my friends at Starbucks because we were going to get a drink, and I was like, I got to go.
They didn't have a bathroom in the Starbucks?
No, they didn't. No, there was like a line, and I was like, I can't wait in line.
Yeah.
I need the bathroom immediately. So I ran, and the first place I saw was like a fancy restaurant. So I ran up, like, I didn't run because I couldn't run, but I was like staggering my way up the steps of this fancy restaurant to the bathroom. And then I had to like made it to the bathroom, and I was like, oh God, I need water. I'm going to pass out. I don't know what's going to happen. I'm going to die. So I had to text my friends and be like, I need you to bring me water.
Yeah.
And then I had to call my parents because
Or like a Gatorade or something.
yeah, and I had to call my parents because I was like, okay, as soon as I'm finished in the bathroom
Going
here,
home?
I need to go home. My parents' house is it's like halfway between my house and Disneyland. So I was like, I'm pretty sure I'm not going to be able to make it to my house. So I need a stopping point.
Okay.
So and then I had to call Eric and let him know like I might die.
Yes.
And everyone was just like, what's happening? So then I had to like drive home. I had to finish up in the bathroom, run out of the restaurant before anybody realized that I was not a patron of the restaurant. The longest walk of my life to get to my fucking car. Then I had to get out of the Disneyland area, and then I had to drive home, and it was awful. And I made it to my parents' house, and it was not fun.
So you didn't shit your pants?
I didn't, but I was so close.
Why'd you open the story up by saying I shit my pants at Disneyland?
I said I almost shit my pants at Disneyland.
I missed the almost. I don't believe it. Rewind the tape. I don't think she said it that way.
Almost, bitch!
I'm gonna rewind the tape. What time code is this? Yep. I'm gonna find it. I'm gonna prove to you didn't say almost. Watch me be so wrong.
Because I said almost. Anyway.
All right, we should
probably wrap
this up. So you're
That went
welcome.
on a
Tell
really
us
long time.
tell us about the times you almost shit your pants. Oh, next week we're talking about white is for magic.
It's about bodily
the second
functions.
one. She does barf.
She barfs, so it comes full circle.
Dang.
We did this on purpose.
Why does she never just shit everywhere due to her dreams?
I don't
Couldn't be taken seriously
maybe
enough?
she did have that in the first draft, and the
You're
editor
like,
was like,
"No."
ma'am, you need to change this.
But yes, we're talking about White is for Magic, the second installment. I don't know what the series is called.
It's called Blue is for Nightmares.
It is? Okay.
Yeah.
And yeah, so tune in for that witchy time. And I don't know, carry Imodium with you.
Yeah. Good night.
Take a probiotic.
Yeah.
Drink a lot of water.
Always eat before you start drinking.
And don't spend $200 on HIV tests that you don't need. subscribe, rate. I think rating 5 stars on Apple Podcasts still does something.
Yeah,
I don't know.
On Spotify, comment. Leave us your comments.
Leave us the comments. Let us know any young adult novels that you would like us to put on the list. We have a lot on the list already, but
we are always looking for more.
Yeah, if there's one that's like particularly special to you, like tell us why. That would be very, very cool. And yeah, subscribe on YouTube and follow us on Instagram. Basically everywhere we are, we're Who Killed Your Darling podcast. So,
and tune in every Wednesday. We'll see you next week.
Bye.
Bye.
Who killed your darling?